It was a written survey. I tried to get as close to 100% as possible. And the questions were, why did you enroll? What benefits were you looking for? What would you like to see improved? How valuable are these skills to you? And the messages that I got back were that I joined to get in shape. I joined for self-defense. Nobody joined for kata. I never had anybody come in saying, do you teach kata? Kata is something they learned when they came in that they had to learn. They didn't know about it when they signed up. When you review your curriculum, the idea is to create a curriculum that attracts the market and is congruent with what they are seeking, as opposed to a curriculum that people that don't know any better will enroll in. The market for people looking for self-defense, some martial arts, fitness, self-confidence, all the benefits that come with martial arts, it's pretty big. The market for people looking for Shito-ryu or Gojo-ryu or Taekwondo is pretty small. So we want to match our curriculum to the market. That doesn't mean that we lower our standards or that we back off on discipline and tradition. No, we create a new tradition, and respect and courtesy is still the primary driver of martial arts. It doesn't have to be in a white uniform. That has nothing to do with discipline. It has to do with attire. It's just attire. So the first thing I did was I went to gi pants, a belt, and a school t-shirt. Living in Florida, everybody appreciated that. For belt exams, they had to wear their entire uniform. But otherwise, it was always a school t-shirt. What's the good thing about that? People would buy multiple shirts, good for retail, but they would also wear them. I remember watching on the news one time, this guy was being interviewed. He was an electrician. He had my shirt on TV. It's pretty cool. Okay, so how do you evaluate your curriculum? It starts with this. You have to ask yourself, and write these down, what are the benefits that I want my students to have as my students? So when somebody leaves my school after 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 12 years, they can say, wow, I learned ... I can assure you no one is going to be saying, what did you get out of martial arts? Oh, I learned Batsai. That's not it. It's going to be, I gained confidence, I learned how to defend myself, etc., etc. So for me, I really spent a lot of time coming up with this list. 1, a positive mental attitude combined with resiliency. Understanding and teaching that life is hard, just like my classes are hard, but you're here. A lot of people aren't here. They're at home eating ice cream. You're here. You are doing the disciplined thing to improve your life, and I want you to take that attitude to everything you do in your life. And just like you get popped in the nose when you're sparring, you're resilient and you can overcome obstacles, just like you do here in class every day. So that was benefit 1. That was actually the most important. 2, fitness. I want my students to be in really, really, really good shape. 3, self-defense. I wanted them to be able to take care of themselves. As they say, I wanted them to be able to write the check if they had to. Foolishly, it's not really foolish. It's only foolish if you know it and you choose to do it. I didn't know. I didn't know that Taekwondo and most martial arts has very little really practical self-defense application. I was still in the brainwashed stage of thinking that one-steps were like self-defense, or that the techniques that we did were like self-defense. It wasn't until the police officer pointed that out to me, and then Chris Sutton reinforced that. I wanted them to have self-defense. I just didn't know what I was teaching was crap. So we have a positive mental attitude. I want them to be in good shape. I want them to be able to defend themselves. I want them to really understand respect and courtesy. The world needs more respect and courtesy. Everybody starts the day with a quiver of darts, and these are stress darts. And as the day goes by, you can be rude to people, and you're just adding to their stress. You're throwing little darts into them. Or over here, you have something that you can reach over and pull those stress darts out of that person for the day. You could do that with a smile. You could do that by opening the door. You could do that by saying thank you very much. You could do that by saying yes sir, no sir. You could do that by just being friendly and pleasant. That's very important to me. So those are the benefits that I want. Okay, how can I achieve that? Do I have to do kata? Nope. Do I have to wear a white uniform? Nope. Do I have to use Korean terminology? Nope. What do I have to do? Teach those benefits through a curriculum that works. And this was the origins that eventually became Empower Boxing and Empower Kickboxing. So rather than a traditional form, we did fighting forms or sequences where you'd step in, bang, bang, bang. In kata, how down block left, punch right, punch right, a down block right, punch left. So it's ambidextrous motion. That's easy to do. I just created sequences, fighting combinations, and then I would turn the other way. They do the same exact combination this way. Then I turn this way, left leg forward, combination. Then I turn this way, same exact, but it would be on the other side. Turn this way, do a third combination, come back to the center, do that same third combination, but on the other side. So you get that ambidextrous motion, but it's not techniques that you want to erase from their sparring. You don't teach people to hold their hands on their hip. You don't teach people to put their chin up. You don't teach people to pause and hold a position when they're sparring or in self-defense. You're constantly moving. So I made forms that reflected our sparring skills. Wow, was that a huge hit? Huge hit. Did I say huge? H-O-O-G-E, huge. I mean, we went from 7 to 8 to 10 white belts in class to over 50. To the point was people had to just do knees and elbows. So it was a massive success. So the whole program moved from this impractical. Can you get in shape by doing kata? Yes. Can you get coordination by doing kata? Absolutely. Can kata be fun? I have more trophies in kata than I do in fighting. I was the 1984-82 U.S. Open Korean Forms champion. That was against some big names in the 80s. I was the first center judge at the WACO World Kata Championships in Munich, Germany in 1987. I love kata. I spent a gazillion hours becoming really good at kata. Do I regret that? No. If I had it to do all over again, would I have done it? No. Because that time could have been spent really refining what matters. So I had to debrief. It is pure brainwashing. And I'm going to finish with this. The reason that you are so emotionally connected to these traditional techniques is because you learned them at a time in your life where they became like you were so dehydrated and thirsty. This was the big jug of water that you were given. It gave you life. You were probably intimidated as a kid, bullied as a kid. You felt powerless. You felt out of control. You had no control of your life. Then somehow you connect with this martial arts school, and within 6 months you're throwing skills pretty cool and you're following the curriculum, and by the time you're a brown belt they're starting to call you Mr. or Miss or Mrs. So now people are showing you respect you've never experienced before. It doesn't matter that it was Kempo, Wing Chun, Shotokan, Taekwondo. It makes no difference because we didn't seek out the school because of its style. I know you didn't. You went to the school that was closest and most affordable and that you liked, and whatever style they taught became the best style in the world to you, because in that moment it really was, and that was certainly the case with me. I knew from my first night in class I was going to do this for the rest of my life, and that was February 12th, 1974. However, in my constant and never-ending search for truth in the martial arts business, I started to realize in the late 80s and early 90s, I saw a series of videos by a psychologist named Dr. John Bradshaw. You'll see his stuff. And it's all about the family dynamics and all, but he talked about how this happens. And it struck me, and since then I've discussed this with everybody from Joe Lewis and Bill Wallace all the way down, all of the psychologists involved in the model certification program. I discussed it with all those psychologists. They all echoed exactly that. And it's all summed up in the book Sports in America, but the quote is this, and I thought this really applied in many ways to martial arts. Little League Baseball doesn't build character. It just eliminates the weak ones. That, my friends, is the martial arts program that most of us came up in. And we have to actually escape that model and that mindset to bring it into the modern era and replace these clunky, old, crazy black and white TV techniques with something that is always practical and applicable. I'm John Graden.